County chapter of the Japanese American Citizens League is proud to sponsor the yet as unnamed Japanese Garden Project to commemorate the native sons and daughters that journeyed from Kagoshima to California and made Sonoma County their new home. The garden honors their sacrifices, struggles, and contributions to this community. In 1978, Walter Bick purchased 155 acres overlooking the Russian River Valley and named the property Paradise Ranch. In 1994, the Bicks opened Paradise Ridge Winery. Respectful of the history and tradition of the land, they built an exhibit in the winery highlighting the life and contributions of Kanaye Nagasawa. The story of Hikosuke Isonaga began in Kagoshima, Japan in 1852. In 1864, he and several Satsuma samurai left Japan in secrecy and traveled to England. Upon arrival, Hikosuke changed his name to Kanaye Nagasawa. In 1868, the majority of the Satsuma samurai returned to Japan, but being one of the youngest, he remained in England. In 1875, Nagasawa arrived in California with the Brotherhood of New Life to establish a utopian community on the 2,000-acre property. The first winery was built in 1882. In 1892, Nagasawa assumed control over Fountain Grove. During his years at Fountain Grove, Nagasawa saw the winery grow to become one of the largest wineries in California, producing 200,000 gallons of wine annually. He employed many Japanese immigrants, largely from southern Japan, including Kagoshima. He was host to dignitaries from Japan and luminaries like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and local horticulturalist Luther Burbank. Nagasawa was honored with the Order of the Rising Sun for his distinguished contributions to the advancement of Japan, and the Order of the Sacred Treasure for his long-term service to the public. Japanese immigrants found work largely in agriculture as farm workers in the orchards and on chicken ranches. The community obtained a portion of the Manchurian Railroad exhibit from the 1930 World's Fair in Chicago. They transported it to Sebastopol and rebuilt it as the Emmonji Buddhist Temple, which became the center of the Japanese community. In 1942, following the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the outbreak of World War II, Japanese Americans were removed from the West Coast by a presidential executive order. Americans of Japanese ancestry in Sonoma County were taken by train to the Merced Assembly Center at the Merced Fairgrounds and later to Camp Amachi in Granada, Colorado. They lived in uninsulated wooden barracks with tar paper as siding, bare wood floors. Dust would come up through the floors, heat from a potbelly stove, and electric light bulb. Meals, restrooms, showers, laundry were all communal. An entire family lived in one room. From 1942 until the last camp was closed in March of 1946, this was the life for 120,000 Americans of Japanese ancestry. In 1943, the U.S. Army formed the 100th Battalion, comprised of Japanese American servicemen that were in the military before the bombing of Pearl Harbor. This segregated unit fought in Europe and distinguished themselves in combat. Due to their efforts, the Army allowed other Japanese American men to enlist. The 442nd Regimental Combat Team was formed and eventually joined the 100th Battalion in Europe. From 1943 to 1945, the 18,000 members of the 442 earned more than 4,000 Purple Hearts given to soldiers who were wounded in combat. The 442 received 7 Presidential Unit citations, seen being presented by President Harry Truman. They received 21 Congressional Medals of Honor, only one of which was awarded at the end of World War II. The remainder were awarded by President Bill Clinton in June of 2000. For their size and length of service, they are the most decorated unit in the entire history of the U.S. military. Joe Yasuda, Pete Masuoka, and Leo Kikuchi were 3 of the many volunteers from the Amachi internment camp to serve in the U.S. Army and were members of the 442. They died serving their country. There is a memorial hall on the grounds of the Enmanji Buddhist temple that was built and dedicated in their honor. After the war, many internees returned to Sonoma County to rebuild their lives and their community. This is a photo of the JACL Board of Directors being sworn in the early 1960s. In 1980, after years of effort by the Japanese American community and Nikkei members of Congress, the Commission on Wartime Relocation and Internment of Civilians held public hearings across the United States. In 1988, Congress passed H.R. 442, an act to implement recommendations of the Commission on Wartime Relocation and Internment of Civilians, and awarded restitution payments of $20,000 to Japanese American survivors of World War II civilian internment camps, and the establishment of an educational endowment fund to ensure this chapter in American history is not forgotten. In 1988, President Reagan signs the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, the United States federal law that granted reparations to Japanese Americans who had been interned by the United States government during World War II. Last year, Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, the first Native American cabinet secretary, participated in the transfer of Granada Relocation Center, Camp Omachi, to the National Park Service. There is also a monument at the site of the Merced Assembly Center. The Japanese American community in Sonoma County is strong, vibrant, and takes pride in the sacrifices, struggles, and accomplishments of our ancestors. They've made us who we are and enable us to celebrate our Japanese heritage with the greater community. The site of the commemorative Japanese garden is a wooded area of the winery sculpture garden, sitting below the Paradise Ridge Winery on a hilltop under the shade of majestic valley oaks is a 1/3 acre site. The garden will be open to the public and will be a quiet, contemplative space for thoughtful reflection on the history of Fountain Grove's legacy and the contributions of generations of Japanese Americans. The inspiration for the garden comes from the landforms surrounding Kagoshima Bay. A son of Satsuma clan, Nagasawa's roots are deeply embedded in Kagoshima. Many of the Japanese immigrants to Sonoma County came from Kagoshima and other areas of southern Japan. The garden will be surrounded by landscape mounds that reflect the mountains that ring Kagoshima Bay. The bay and ocean will be represented by gravel areas with rock placements marking major cities and geographic features. The garden is Zen-inspired and will be a California drought-resistant landscape set in an oak woodland. Respectful of California's climate, the garden will feature native plants and local landscape materials. Gravel, rocks, and boulders will all be harvested from the site. Featured elements of the garden will include traditional Japanese gateways, heavy timber and stone benches, Japanese-style interpretive signs, Tekagaki-style fencing, and stone lanterns. The interpretive signs will highlight the various features of the garden and the locations in Kagoshima that they represent. Kanaye Nagasawa's story and his accomplishments will be highlighted, as will the contributions of Japanese immigrants who helped to create the Japanese American community in Sonoma County. The Japanese American Citizens League plans to build the garden with contributions from the community to assist in the purchase of building materials and volunteer labor to help construct the project. JACL is also looking for sponsorships from individuals and organizations and are encouraging them to sponsor the purchase of specific items for the garden, such as entry gates, benches, stone lanterns, fencing, and interpretive signage. Thank you for listening to this presentation on the Japanese Garden Project sponsored by the Sonoma County Japanese American Citizens League. We'll be posting updates on the garden project on our website and on our Facebook page. We invite you to check them out from time to time and see how things are progressing. Thank you very much.